Hey guys, this is John on The Entrepreneur. Have you ever had a problem trying to figure out why you couldn't quite sell what you wanted to sell, whether it be a book or a watch or a car, whatever it may be? Have you ever wondered why you probably couldn't sell it because the guy across the street sold pretty much the same thing to the client that was just at your doorstep? Well, here's the reality, okay? Benefits versus features, that's what we're talking about today, okay? Knowing your client, knowing what is going to benefit your client, how it's going to benefit your client. Okay, so that's what we're talking about today. I'm sorry, last video we did last week, what we were talking about is how you can use personality types, right? Choleric, phlegmatic, melancholic, and sanguine. Use personality types to use certain words and bring out certain things of your product that are going to appeal to that personality, appeal to that person. So what we're talking about today is benefits versus features, all right? So what is a benefit? What is a feature? What's the difference, right? So what we're going to talk about today is knowing your product. That's one of the first things we're going to hit on, okay? Knowing your product. You want to know everything about your product. Last time I went car shopping for a Mercedes. I went to a Mercedes dealership, went to a Porsche dealership, and then of course I went to the general, the Ford, the Chevy dealerships. I was checking out some of the sports cars they had there, some of the trucks, and one thing that really just dumbfounded me, one thing that set me back was how much the Mercedes dealerships and Porsche dealerships knew about the cars that they were selling. Now, given they do not have as many different cars as maybe a Ford or a Chevrolet or a GMC dealership would, but what cars they did have, they knew everything about. They knew the leather interior, the type of leather, where the leather came from. They knew the motor size, the MPGs. They knew the safety ratings, the safety features, the backup camera sensors. They knew everything about everything of their product. And that is really what just kind of caught my eye, right? So that's what we want to talk about today, knowing your product and how your features of the product is going to help your customer, right? So know your product. Next thing you want to do is know your customer. Whenever you greet your customer, whenever you go to them and say, hey, my name is John, nice to meet you. Let me go ahead and show you this car. When you're walking out to the car, or whether you're, walking to go grab the watch, or whether you're reaching down to grab the book, or whatever you may be selling, an insurance policy, maybe a service, whatever it may be, you always want to start a conversation with them, is because you want to trip that conversation into your sales pitch. So that's what you want to do. So for instance, know your customer and get them to like you. That's one of the biggest things. So, hey Jennifer, isn't it great today, right? You can talk about the weather. You can say, oh, well, that's one of the things that I really like to do is talk about the weather, because it really gets conversation going. I'll generally use a line something like this. Hey Jennifer, I've noticed that you're here out for a car. Isn't it lovely weather today, by the way? I'm like, oh, it's really, really nice day. It's a nice sunny day. Yeah, it's actually a perfect day for sports. Do you have any sports? Do you play any sports? Or do you have any kids that might play any sports by chance? She's going to be like, oh, no, I don't have kids. Or she can be like, yeah, I do have a few kids. Okay, instantly you know that if you're selling her a book, you're probably want to be selling her a book about health or family. If you're going to be selling her a car, you're probably going to be looking at something that's going to be able to hold some extra luggage. If you're going to be selling her a watch, you're probably going to want to go more on the economical scale. What just instantly you want to know, do they have kids, right? After that, oh, you don't have kids, or you do have kids. Oh, okay. How many kids do you have? Oh, well, I have 3 kids. You have 3 kids, or do they play sports? Oh, yeah, I have one in soccer, and I have one that goes kayaking. Oh, you have one that goes kayaking? Okay, well, now you're going to use that as ammunition later for, okay, you're going to use that as ammunition later for, oh, this has a roof rack, and you can put your kayak on that. So know your product, know your customer, get them to like you, be very professional, be very friendly. And, of course, how will your product personally, emotionally, and physically benefit your client? Okay, so for instance, let's talk about the lady we were just speaking with. She had a family. She had 3 kids, I think is what I said, and they were into sports, right? So benefits versus features. If you're trying to sell her a car, right, let's just pick a standard SUV, right? A big engine is probably not going to be a benefit for her. It's going to be more of a feature, right? Safety, that's going to be a benefit. Why is that a benefit? Because it's going to be something that's going to entangle her emotionally. That's going to be something that she's going to say, oh, well, I do want to keep my kids safe. And you want to say that whenever you bring it up, hey, we have this minivan here. It's got the, I forget what you call those airbags that go down on the sides, but it has airbags that come here, airbags that go there with these seat belts that do some sort of special thing, and it's really going to focus on the safety of your children, because are your children really not the most important thing in your life? And of course you'll be like, oh yeah, children are the most important things in my life. And would you not like to make sure that they get the safest, they have the safest form of transportation available? Obviously. And she'd be like, oh, yes, okay. Well, in that case, aren't you interested in this car, right? And don't go directly there, but you have an idea of what I'm talking about. If we're talking about a young guy, maybe, 20 years old or 21 years old or 18 years old, whatever he may be, he does not care about safety. More than likely, he's going to care about the motor, the size of the motor. He's going to care about the torque, not really the miles per gallon. He's not going to care about the miles per gallon. He's going to want to know all this crazy stuff, horsepower, performance, So know that, if you're selling also the SUV, oh, well, if you ever take these things off road, or have you ever drag raced these things, or know your transmission, so you don't waste your time. For instance, a 4Runner is really geared, one of the T-Forces, one of my friends just bought a 4Runner T-Force. It's not geared for performance. It's geared more for torque, for climbing over rocks and things like that. And so you want to know something like that, because if you're telling your customer, oh, it's a really fast, it's the T-Force edition, and he test drives it and he realizes it's not a fast car, instantly that makes you look stupid. He's not going to like you. He's going to think you're lying to you. You just lost the sale, okay? Know your product. That goes back to know your product, okay? Then again, that just alliterated what are your benefits? What are the benefits of your product, right? So once again, just touch on those things and bear very heavily on those. What are features? Features are things that are extra that don't really pertain to the customer emotionally, physically, or personally, right? So a feature for a kid, right, talking about 20 years old, is 45 miles per gallon. Now, if he's in college, that could be a benefit. But if he's working, he wants to show off his money or whatever, 45 miles per gallon isn't really going to be a benefit. Another thing that's really not going to benefit him is a cloth interior. A cloth interior might benefit a family with 6, 7 kids. It's not going to benefit a teenager that wants a slick leather interior, all that sort of stuff. Goes back to know your customer. And of course, again, relaying the benefits to your customer, right? Hey, once again, speaking about the kids, I really know that you really love your kids, don't you? And of course they'll say yes. And I understand that you want to protect them, and you have a lot of sports, don't you? You really use it a lot. Oh, of course, yes, I do. Okay, well, looking at this car here, or looking at this watch here, or looking at this program here, or looking at whatever it may be that we're looking at, you want to relay on them on a personal basis. And of course, reiterating on the personality types. If they're a melancholic person, if they're a sanguine type of person, or no matter what kind of person they're going to be, you want to use their personality type. You want to use those certain words, those certain phrases, in order to get to to attach them emotionally. And of course, once you get there, you start to get to the close. Now, there's a couple of different things we're not really touching. We're just going to touch very faintly on the close, right? I like smooth transition into closes. Those are generally the best ways. Words not to use, and there's a whole nother video that we could be doing on this, but just don't ever say contract, right? We're going to probably do another video in the future about different words not to say. Never say contract, okay? Say agreement. It's an agreement, right? Or it's paperwork. We have a little bit of paperwork that we need to get done, right? Contract, never say it. Paperwork, it's a good thing to use. So yeah, so that's pretty much what we have for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe the video. Now, once again, why would you bother subscribing to this video? Well, the reality is the amount of information that I've accumulated over the years of selling is really valuable. And honestly, I have been to a lot of places where I've had to pay a lot of money just to get this information. For you, it's free. And for you, you're instantly going to get access to it, because whenever you subscribe to that video, it's instantly going to pop up in your email, and boom. You don't have to pay the money that I did to see these videos. That's the great part. Anyways, I'll see you next week with another video tip of the week, okay?